All right. Okay, so we are zooming in to receive another powerful man, not just a scholar, but also a man of God. So he's buy one, get one free. He gives you knowledge and he gives you spiritual endowment. And I am very proud to know this gentleman, married to a beautiful woman. So I can only imagine the rest of the story. Professor, he is at the Faculty of Building, Environment and Sustainability at the Pentecost University. And he is well known as the Reverend Professor Joseph Ignatius Teye Buertey. He's the Dean. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We want to engage on a rather controversial and theological and social discourse. The topic could be quite tricky, but let's look at the topic. Retribution or responsibility. Rethinking climate change crisis and divine punishment. Thoughts from an African eco-theological lens. So I'm sure by the time you try to even digest the words, you would have had some time. But what are we saying? What we are saying is that according to Kamal, 1969, and Mbiti, 1969, and Bediakon, 2000, Africans are highly religious, and Africans are people who uphold religion and religiosity in various parts and aspects of their lives. And today, over 95% of Ghanaians are religious. They are either Christians, Muslims, or atheists, or African traditional religion. And for which reason, everybody moving around has some religious inclination. But there is still some lack when it comes to the contribution of religion and religious bodies to the discourse of sustainability. When we talk about SDGs and ESGs in research and its contribution to academia. When we come to Christianity, reading Psalm 104, verse 24, and then Psalm 27, and then Psalm 104, 27 to 30, there is a balance between creation and nature. Now, Leviticus 25 tells us about sabbatical rest of the land. It wasn't for anything God told the people of Israel that when you plant for 6 years, leave the land to rest for 1 year. When you plant for 24 years, leave the 25th year to rest. It wasn't for any mistake. There was a reason behind. So God was a sustainability God. He was looking at how to care for creation. So when you work for 6 years, leave the land for 1 year for it to rest. Now, when you go to Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 12 to 13, the Bible tells us how to manage human waste in Deuteronomy, sustainability. When you go to Deuteronomy chapter 20, we were supposed to use resources that come our way very diligently, sustainability. Leviticus chapter 11 and then 14 talks about the promotion of biodiversity and managing trees in the Bible, sustainability. Deuteronomy chapter 25 verse 4 talks about caring for animals and how to manage them. Moving to the other faith, Muslims, in the Quran. When you look at in the Quran, Surah Al-Arafat 731, it talks about the shun of excessive waste. Now, when you look at the hadith as well, it talks about planting of trees, water conservation. Surah Al-An'am 30 verse 41 says, humans should learn from the negative impact they have made on earth and refrain. African traditional religion. When we come to African traditional religion, there is something we call ecological wisdom in the African traditional religion. What is ecological wisdom? Ecological wisdom is stipulated in our villages. When we were growing up, we were told that on Tuesdays, we do not go to the riverside. We were told that on Thursdays, we don't go to the farm. We were told that on Thursdays, you don't cross the river. Why? Within the mind of our forefathers, they were instilling ecological sanity into our minds. And we were told that on Thursdays, we do not fish. The fish must rest. We must stop catching them every day. So they need one day where they'll be free from harvesting. Ecology and sustainability in the minds of our grandfathers who were preserving what was given us. We were told that we don't harvest trees in the sacred groves. We all grew up in villages where there were sacred groves. There were plantations that had been kept. In fact, you were told that when you enter that forest, you meet a ghost or you meet a dwarf. Indeed, no one really went there and met a dwarf. But the issue is that our forebears and our grandfathers had what we call ecological wisdom. Today, Christianity and modernization have resulted in the gradual degradation of the ecology. What happened? Pentecostals prayed and prayed and prayed. Evangelicals prayed and prayed, and they cast out the demons from the forests. They prayed and cast out the fears in the river bodies. After praying and praying, they were now able to enter the forest. When they entered the forest, they came back and they said, you too money in the free forest, so sana bibi anyhow. Now, after praying and casting out the demons, they realized that then ordinary people could also go there. No wonder our forests have all been given away for galamsees. But those forests, you were not supposed to enter. If you were not entering, it means we were restricted from having access to the place. We have broken all the ecological wisdom that protected the environment. From the shared reality theory, what it means is that all this faith in question shared a certain reality that protected humanity and the ecology for us to have a safe planet for the next generation. Today, climate change is becoming a challenge we are all bedeviled with. Meanwhile, both Christians and then evangelicals now begin to think that the result of climate change is as a result of retribution. Now, some people even think that the issue of climate change that is occurring is because of our sins and the fact that it is an eschatological advent, that God is coming too soon. So he's adventing these sins on us so that we would suffer and note that he is coming soon. Look, we better take care of the earth as long as we are alive, because God may not necessarily be coming soon. Take care of what you have, manage it, and manage it very well. Using theological reviews, participants' discussions, and thematic analysis, we have all come to realize that the effect of climate change is so devastating. Temperature rise and precipitation, agriculture and food security issues, water resource challenges, ecosystem and biodiversity challenges, and socio-economic impacts on our lives. Now, what am I arriving at? Today, there is the theological discourse that there is the theory of divine retribution from the narrative of Mbiti 1969, that climate change is a sign of the end times. Yes, it may be a sign of the end times, but as far as we are concerned, as an engineer, as a theologian, as a pastor, what I'm saying is that let's manage what God has given to us as long as we are alive. And let us indeed not be too quick to be theological and to be spiritual when indeed we have a responsibility to care for what has been bequeathed into our hands. There is a diversity of socioeconomic discourse that the result of the sins we have committed has brought poverty to us. And this poverty is seen in the temperature rises to cause us to suffer as long as we are humans. So there is that socio-economic dimension people think about when it comes to climate change. Colleagues, academics, and people who are here for this wonderful ICESDA conference. There are some adaptations and mitigation strategies we all have to take, because we should not only think as the Pentecostal and evangelicals think, that it is as a result of human sin. It's as a result of the end times. That is why we are having all these challenges resulting in what we call climate change. Let us be technologically sustainable. Let's think people, let's take planet before profits. Indeed, research has shown that people in Africa suffer the most. We suffer the most. Indeed, apart from the fact that when it comes to climate change, in Africa in particular, what is really resulting in the climate change effect is our vehicles. Our vehicles emit over 80% exhaust carbon monoxide into the system. Our vehicles. Carbon dioxide into the system. Our vehicles. Apart from our vehicles, our industries do not really contribute much when you compare to Europe. When you look at the amount of emission in Europe, is so much. When you look at Africa, our vehicles are the challenge. We need to look at our mobility strategy as a country. We need to move into green mobility that will help us sustain our ecology and be very sustainable. Infrastructure, technology, and policies are things we need to look at. And I'm driving our minds to the fact that let us bring in religious bodies, because religious bodies have the people on Sundays. They have the people at the mosques on Fridays. When they go there, they should be responsible in preaching sustainability in these forums, because the people believe their pastors, the people believe their imams when they preach to them about sustainability. We all have a duty to care for the environment, to be sustainable, to be responsible, to be technologically right when it comes to how we produce and how we are sustaining and living behind the world. We must endeavor to live behind a world which is a better place for the third and the fourth generation. Let's be responsible in our mining. Let's be responsible in our food security. Let's be responsible in our vehicular movement. Let us take note. Some of us, our cars are very old, our vehicles are very old, and it is third hand, fourth hand in some countries, but we import it to Ghana as second-hand cars. Meanwhile, they have expired their usage in other places. We buy it, and we buy it with luxury. And meanwhile, we buy it as a means of polluting the environment. Let's be sustainable. Let's be responsible. It is a call for us all to take note that it is not necessarily retribution. It is a responsibility you and I have to take, that we must care for the planet. We must take care of what God has given to us. Creation care, eco-diaconia, is the responsibility we have. Thank you.